Okay, so my parents got divorced when I was 14 when it turned out me and my twin sister were not my dad's bio children. Dad found mom cheating again with bio dad, and she confessed to it in a fit of rage. We had DNA tests done. Dad assured us that it didn't change anything, and we were still his daughters. My sister had different ideas. She went to live with mom and bio dad. I feel this was it for dad, and he went through a rough phase during that time and lost his job. He used up all his savings to keep me comfortable and his own therapy. My mom somehow realized this and said she wanted control of my sister's college fund, and I still remember her exact words when she left our house. "Enjoy it while it lasts. You'll come crying to me when he makes you homeless." Well, Dad got an extremely well-paying job a few months after that. We have been more than comfortable since, and Dad has added a substantial amount of money to my college fund. I did meet my mother and sister a few times after that, but Mom didn't want my bad influence on her, so we were low contact, so she didn't know the exact amount of the money he was making. Now it's time for college, and Mom called me yesterday asking me which university I'll be going to. I told her about my dream school and a few others, all admittedly expensive. She was silent for a few moments before she said she needed to go and hung up. Well, she called my dad. She demanded to know how he was paying for it because even the original sum of college fund wasn't enough for those universities. On learning the reason, she demanded he add the required amount of money to my sister's college fund and a bit more because she had used up 10% of it, on what she refused to say. My dad refused. My mother called me back, saying I was depriving my sister of a good college life. My bio dad and sister have also messaged me saying the same. What my sister said hit hard. We both had discussed going to the same university, which is the dream school I'm talking about. We thought at the time we couldn't afford it, and now I can, and she can't. She says if I ask Dad to do it, he will, and he probably will, but I feel like that's emotional manipulation. She also said I should give up a bit of my fund, so both of us could at least have an equal amount, but I feel like that would be betraying my dad. Am I the a-hole? Info. My parents had 50-50 custody of me and my sister, but my sister didn't want to meet Dad since she wanted to bond with her real dad. My dad did try to reach out to her, sat her down and asked her if anyone was pressuring her, but she was adamant, so he had to back off. My mom said I had betrayed her, but didn't force me to visit, and bio dad never had a conversation with me. Not the a-hole. They made their choice, and are mad now yours has worked out better. If I were you, I'd show everything they've sent to your dad and let him make his own decision. Definitely don't give up any of your college fund. Not the a-hole. Your mom is especially a jerk for not trying to maintain a good relationship with you, and for saying you betrayed her. You're not the one who cheated on your dad. Your sister's upset, but she also went off on your dad and refused to see him. Your dad went through tough times and is doing better, so he's been able to pay into your college fund a bit more. He doesn't even have access to your sister's fund, and her mom has dipped into it. You and your dad sound okay, but your mom, sister, and her dad are being aggressive. You should share the messages with your dad, but also make sure you tell him that they're being unreasonable. Whether your dad pays more into your sister's fund here is irrelevant. It would be kind, but he's not an a-hole to not do it. Not the a-hole. Your mother and your bio dad are responsible for paying your sister's college tuition, not anyone else. When your sister decided to follow your mom and your mom decided that they would be better off with bio dad, that's when responsibility shifted. I think your dad has been through enough, and he shouldn't bear the burden of being financially responsible for anyone other than you and him. And asking him to do so when, based on what you described, your mother did everything in her power to keep you both away, would be extremely inconsiderate of you. My ex-girlfriend and I broke up a few years ago. It was a rough breakup, and we hadn't spoken since then. During our relationship, I spent the bulk of my time at her house, in a very exclusive, gated community. I've always made really good money, but she is a surgeon and her house was nicer than mine. During this time, she always coveted another, more expensive house in the community, on the water with a great view, boat dock, walk to the clubhouse, her dream home. In the time since we broke up, I started a few businesses that blew up, and now my financial situation is much better than hers, even on a surgeon's salary. I decided to sell my modest home, and, well, you can see where this is going. There was a surprising lack of homes that met my criteria, and my realtor was having trouble finding places to show me. Then, of course, she showed me the ex's dream house, which recently came on the market. Initially resistant to the idea of moving into the same community as her, I decided I wasn't going to let her dictate my life decisions. This was the nicest house I saw, and I decided to buy it. While moving in, I noticed her aunt, lives in same community, cruising by in her golf cart, scoping out the new people moving into her niece's dream home. The look on her face when she saw me was priceless. The secret was out. It all came to a head a few days later at the community clubhouse, where they have Sunday brunch, a bar, and a pool. I got a little drunk that day, after mimosas at brunch and hours at the pool bar. The ex's whole family, parents, brother, aunts, and uncles, came in for lunch. Her aunt broke the ice by walking past my table and telling me, "You know, you are an incredibly terrible human being." To which I cracked up laughing, because her aunt is the biggest "see you next Tuesday" I've ever met. My reaction must have set off the rest of her table, because the ex came over with her other aunt and they started laying into me, telling me things like I didn't belong there and that I had no right to buy that house, which they assumed was a buy made out of spite. Mind you, I hadn't seen or spoken to her in 3 years. Then the ex said that I just needed to get over her. I'm long over her. And that I was pathetic for this move. This set me off. I lost my cool and went full Frank Costanza on her, telling her I would be in the pool, in the clubhouse, and all over the shuffleboard court. There is no shuffleboard, but that's beside the point. And dared them to keep me out. And then I told her she was welcome to come visit her dream house anytime. And I may have called her a T-Wad also. I was never in this for the joy of spiting an ex, but now I take pleasure every time she sees me in the clubhouse with my new girlfriend. In addition to this, I serendipitously found out her family was buying a boat owned by another resident I met at the community bar. I bought the boat out from under them, out of spite, and now they have to look at it parked at my dock every day. Poor rich people. Yes, the a-hole. You're allowed to buy any house you want, but you can't pretend like you didn't know the reaction it would get. Your line about the aunt's look being priceless kind of gives it away. You knew this would set them off, and you got the reaction you wanted when you saw the priceless look on her face. And then your reaction at the brunch sealed it. And buying the boat out from under them? If I had any thought to second-guess my judgment, the boat deal reminds me that you really are the a-hole here. Everybody sucks here. You could have taken the high road, but you didn't. And I suspect you take immense pleasure in having moved into that house. You could have lived anywhere. You chose to live there. So you were not over your ex then? Your poor girlfriend. You do everything to spite her, despite being exes for a couple of years now. Do so much to show that you are better than her, despite her, and do so much better. But it all comes back to her. So yes, the a-hole, just because you can't get over her. My fiancé and I have been dating for over 6 years now, and after doing everything backwards, kids first, house, and then animals, I finally had the right opportunity to purchase an engagement ring. I booked a hotel for a couple of nights in our favorite town, just 20 minutes away from our home. The weather wasn't anything to be crazy about. A beach town with winds gusting up to 40 miles per hour, with a constant 30 mile per hour in the high 20s before wind chill. But I know our schedules wouldn't allow another stretch of nights away. I had taken her out to dinner at one of our favorite spots in town. Once we arrived back at the hotel, I told her we were going to take a walk along the boardwalk before retiring back to our room for the night. Ultimately, my proposal was brief and not as long as I had planned it to be, as the town itself was doing construction on the boardwalk and didn't even have benches for us to sit as I had imagined, on top of the frigid weather. Just before presenting the ring on my knee, I told her about a story of an animal I crossed on my trek home the first night we met, a screeching cat in the same dunes, and how my immediacy to think about how I wanted to share that weird experience with her, and how I wanted to use it to just talk to her more, exemplified how I knew I wanted her in my life. The location I proposed was not only the location of that strange animal, but also the intersection of 2 roads, with the one being the road we used to live on, and where she first told me she loved me. She had said yes, and we finally made our way back to our hotel. We've had our fair share of major ups and major downs, some that would even break most couples. However, roughly 5 days after proposing and her saying yes, she said she couldn't get over how the proposal was about a cat, and that she deserved better with everything we've been through. I told her if she truly felt that way, then give the ring back, but I won't be giving her the ring again. At the end of a long discussion, via text, she gave the ring back after I told her she needed to hand it to me rather than me taking it. Hours later, she asked for the ring back, and she kept explaining her expectation was for me to take the ring and propose to her again. I told her that I would stick to my word and not give the ring back, which then devastated her. I don't know, man. It took you 6 years and a few kids to finally honor her in this way. And you don't know her well enough to know the kind of romantic scene she had in mind? 6 years, kids, and a mortgage, and this is the best you could come up with all that time she graciously gave you to think it up. And then to boot, when she confessed to being disappointed with a moment she has likely been fantasizing about her whole life, plus 6 years, instead of being sorry you disappointed her and trying to make it right, you punished her for communicating honestly with you about her feelings. Wow. Just wow. Yes, the a-hole. Yes, the a-hole. The proposal sounds just weird, and it doesn't matter what I think or anyone else other than your ex-fiancé. And she thought it was weird. Then you threatened that if she returned the ring and asked for a new proposal, that you'd just never give her the ring again? This isn't a game. Do you even love her? Take her somewhere that is meaningful to her, where the weather isn't freezing, and tell her why you love her. You could light candles in your own patio. Many places would be better than a cold and windy boardwalk. You've waited this long. Now do something nice for her. Everyone sucks here. The crappy proposal in freezing cold with a cat story sounds par for the course after reading the rest. But once she said yes, she should have left it alone. You had me until the childish, "if you give it back, I won't give the ring back," all over text. And then doubling down. I think she dodged a bullet, frankly. 6 years is a long time. Hopefully she sees the light. I own a bakery, and my ex decided to make a huge order for a party he's hosting. He made the order through my co-owner, who tried to hide it from me. When I first heard about the order, I was excited because it was huge. But when I found out it was from my ex, I said I wouldn't make the cakes for him, and I ended up canceling his order against the wishes of my co-owner. Now, both my ex and co-owner are angry at me. My co-owner is angry because it was a bad business decision in her eyes, and his order was huge for us, both in terms of size and in the exposure it would have given us. My ex is angry because he claims he ordered those cakes for our daughter, and I was being selfish for not making them for her. I told him I would make her cakes at my house, so I didn't need him to buy any for me, which just made him angrier. The reason I'm refusing is because when we were together, my ex was unsupportive of my dreams of owning a bakery. He made it seem like it wasn't something his wife should be doing professionally, and that I should have just been happy with baking as a hobby. My former mother-in-law told me him ordering the cakes was him trying to give me a peace offering. Am I the a-hole? Yes, the a-hole. If you just owned it by yourself, fine. But you have a co-owner and are taking money away from them because you are being petty. Yes, the a-hole. And you proved him right with your lack of good business sense. You lost your business a big opportunity because of your ego. Baking at home for your kid has nothing to do with your orders at work. Basically, your ex said, "Let me support her in her biz. Give her an order. Good opportunity." And you said, "No, I don't want to make cakes professionally. I want to remain an at-home baker like you told me all those years ago." Stop defining yourself due to your bad memories. This is your job now. Think about it differently. Show everyone how great you are at your job. Wouldn't it be great to prove him wrong by doing a great job with the order? It seems he's understanding he was in the wrong. Why are you still holding on to the past and limiting your future? Yes, the a-hole. 100%. Because your ex didn't support your idea, you've just lost a lot of money and visibility, as well as the trust that your co-owner has placed in you to manage your firm together. As a business owner, it's petty, immature, and reckless. Beyond the business side of things, you've realized your dreams and proven him incorrect. By ordering from your bakery, he is extending an olive branch, acknowledging he was mistaken, and showing his support for your bakery with what appears to be a significant purchase. He would have merely asked you to bake the cakes for free if he wasn't willing to do that. I'm 22 and live with my mom and dad. I work in Hugo Boss, and basically we get commission. I make a lot of money because I always exceed target. Both my parents are uni lecturers, and I'm also in uni. I'm saving for my dream car, and I have around 20,000 pounds in funds. I have no debt other than uni debt, which I'll be able to easily pay off anyway. My girlfriend of 3 years has been getting really insistent lately that I use that money to buy a house. I don't really want to do that. I'm starting to dodge her calls because since she found out about it, she won't leave it alone, and it comes up in every single conversation, even when I've told her no. I'd say we are close. I reckon she's the first lass I've ever actually been in love with, and she's a lot more sensible than me. But I just really can't seem to make her understand this isn't happening. She called me again last week, and I told her not to start about the house thing again. She slammed the phone down on me and hasn't texted me since, even though I've tried to call her. We live in different parts of the country, and uni is finished for the year, but I don't see the point in driving to her if she doesn't even want to talk to me. My mom and dad are on my side and say that I just need to live my life how I like, but my best mate told me I'm being an a-hole because I'm letting my girlfriend get annoyed with me. Not the a-hole. You are 22. You don't really need to worry about real estate right now. But she's right that a new car is a terrible investment. You would do better to buy a reasonable car and save. Not the a-hole. A house is a major commitment. It's not just about having money. You're young and you shouldn't be pressured into buying anything, considering you're not even married to her. Not the a-hole. But I do have to say she's got a point that the money would be better served as investment in property than buying a car, especially if the car you're thinking of is something that's particularly expensive and excessive. Like, are we talking about a dream car that's just a preferred type of reasonable car? Or are you thinking something crazy that's well beyond what you need? And you already have a fine enough car if you could theoretically invest less money in a nice and functional car, if you need a new one anyways. Personally, I wouldn't be thinking of long-term plans with someone who's going to blow a bunch of money on an excessive vehicular purchase at 22, before being financially settled, and making plans including when you want to purchase your own home. Heck, you aren't even renting. You're living with your parents. Personally, I'd consider that pretty childish. That said, it's your money and ultimately your call. Plus, it might not even be a good call at the moment to purchase a house. A house isn't a good investment if you'll be moving within 10 years, and you're only 22 and a student. You don't know yet where you'll be having your career. Don't purchase a house until you're settled somewhere, no matter what you decide for the money. Personally, I'd recommend calling that money a house fund and continuing to save instead of spending it on some big pleasure item at this point. Cars don't keep the resale value after all. It's not really an investment so much as a purchase based on need. But that's just me. Like I said, it's your call.